Welcome to another episode of Hot Takes and High Stakes, brought to you by Press Coverage Sports Media. We're your hosts, Taylor and Austin. Today we're going to continue on our division conversations with the NFC West, kind of talk about win totals, go over their draft, give them a draft grades, see how they're looking heading into the season.
Yeah, super competitive division. I'm really excited to see what shakes out with this one. I honestly think that our Super Bowl winner definitely comes from this division. I kind of dove into it. I didn't realize that the Rams and the Seahawks were both the most likely favorite there. I didn't see that coming. It makes sense when you dig into these teams. I don't see a ton of regression from the Seahawks. I think the Rams are going to be right there again. As long as Stafford doesn't regress too much, I don't think that's going to happen. He had MVP season last year, and Cardinals obviously are going to be at the bottom of the division, but Niners also can make a push. Yep.
Let's dive right into it. Let's bring up their drafts. Just looking into it before we even get jumping in, how are you feeling about their draft? How you feel like, what did you think they needed the most heading into the draft?
So with the Seahawks, it was hard because really they didn't need a ton, in my opinion. Looking at their first pick, I really think that Jadarian Price was a great addition to this team. It is weird to see a backup running back go so highly, but with this dude's kick return ability alone, I think that's going to be a huge addition to this team. He was phenomenal. Like, I didn't watch a ton of Notre Dame last year, but he ended up having like a 60-40 split with, possibly one of the greatest running backs to come out of college at this point. Huge kickoff upside, like I was saying, 37.5 yards per kickoff return last season, which is just absolutely insane.
Explosive.
He was averaging 6 yards per carry out of the backfield, which I think will be a huge addition to this team. I really like the pairing with Emmanuel Wilson as a power back. I think that Jadarian Price can kind of take those early downs, and then Emmanuel Wilson can come and be that third down back for them. So
Emmanuel Wilson's got great pass blocking abilities. He's great pass blocking. My big question is, where does Zach Charbonnet fit in here?
I would guess that Charbonnet and Jadarian Price kind of take the majority of the reps. I don't know. I'm big on Emmanuel Wilson, so that'll be interesting to see for sure. But who knows? Once Charbonnet comes back, he can be a good runner, but it was hard to watch with Seattle last year and trying to figure out fantasy-wise which back they're going to play, because they do split it right down the middle, and it's hard.
I mean, it's kind of funny is you don't give K9 the touches that he needs in the red zone. He wins MVP when you finally give him the touches that he needs in the red zone, and then he's shipped off and now going to Kansas City, and you're looking for another running back to take his place. And are they going to run the same backfield situation this year, where the best running back's going to get them all the way down to the red zone, and then they're going to 1-2 punch in with Emmanuel Wilson or Zach Charbonnet?
And maybe Jadarian Price just isn't going to be a starter right off the bat. Maybe he'll just be inserted when they see fit. Maybe they'll use him as a kick returner. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see for sure. Yeah, I think defensively they made a great pickup with Bud Clark out of TCU. Super fun safety to watch. He had 15 interceptions and 25 pass breakups in the Big 12, which I think that's pretty remarkable. That was, top college football. So I think he's a great addition for them.
They lost a lot of secondary help this offseason, losing Rick Woolen and losing Kobe Bryant as well. He was a great ball hawk, had good skills, just that natural ability to lead him to the ball every time he needed to be. And I think it would be a good fit. They also got to pair him with Nick Amirari from last year. So, hey, it'd be a good fit.
Yep. Their third round pick, Julian Neal, cornerback out of Arkansas. Don't know a ton about this guy. Didn't watch a lot of Arkansas ball, but according to Mel Kiper, should be a pretty decent prospect for them. A super long arm corner. Looks like he'll be kind of playing that third cornerback position on this roster.
It's basically just a replacement for Rick Woolen. That super tall, super long corner with good speed that's able to break on the ball, and great for man coverage.
Yeah, overall, I don't think you can dock them because they didn't really need much. Like, a really well-rounded team. So,
Champions
I'm
for a
going to give them
reason.
a B. Just based on the talent they brought in, I think they did a really good job. But yeah, I don't think you can knock them because they were already a pretty well-rounded team. And just thinking about it, there wasn't a ton they needed. Maybe a little bit of offensive line help, but not a ton.
I'm excited to see Gray Zabel going into year 2. That kid is a dog. Future Pro Bowl. future All-Pro. That kid is going to be special in this league. I'm going to agree with you on the B, maybe a B plus, just because I do think Jadarian Price was a good pickup that late in that first round. Step in and be able to take major roles and major snaps right off the bat. I think that's a great pick. But I do think they needed a little bit more help on the offensive pass catcher situation. JSN took a lot of targets last year. You need someone to take some of those targets off his back, because if he goes down, your whole season's going to be in the mix.
All right, under/over win total. Before we jump into the schedule, how are you feeling on that 10.5 wins? Super tough schedule.
Okay, so yeah, looking at the schedule, I bounce back and forth looking at this. I think that 10.5 is kind of a really good line for this team. I'm gonna say under at 10.
Okay, I'm with the slight lean over, just because of the way they performed last season and as strong as they were. I'm not seeing a Super Bowl hangover. I'm hoping that's not the case. I think Darnold's going to peak this season. I think this will be Darnold's best year personally, pending health on that offensive receiving core, obviously, that you had mentioned. I don't see them splitting the series with Arizona, and I think they can at least beat San Francisco once. I think they can. The tough test is going to be the Rams. I've got Rams, Dallas, Philly. That's rough. You play Rams, Carolina, and then back to the Rams again. That's going to be a push at the end of the season.
Bryce Young, the last 3 or 4 weeks of the season, one of the best quarterbacks of the season. It's just the first couple weeks that he is just the worst quarterback ever. So I think that's going to be a tough. I like 10. I do think the hangover is going to play a big part in it. I do. Sam Darnold's a great quarterback. He's in a good system, but I don't think he's going to put up the numbers that he put up this past couple of years out of Minnesota and this last year in Seattle. I think he's going to have a slight downgrade.
All right, split decision on that one. Any final takes on the Seattle Seahawks?
I thought they were dumb getting rid of Kenneth Walker. I really did. I think you lose Zach Charbonnet to injury that late in the season. He steps in, carries your team to a Super Bowl, wins the Super Bowl MVP, and then you just let him walk?
Yeah, it didn't make sense to me. Great addition for the Chiefs,
Yeah.
who desperately needed a good running back, and I think that's a great grab for them. I don't really understand it, but I mean, if I were to cut K9 or Charbonnet, it would have been Charbonnet personally. But
100% coming off an injury like that. K9 was just explosive. Every time he got the ball, all season, he was explosive. But the second they got to the 25-yard line, they took him off the field. Zach Charbonnet came in and put his way into the end zone. So it worked out for wins, but K9 was not utilized to his full potential. He's a great pass-catching back out of the backfield. He's great with speed in the open field. They just never used him the way
and
they
maybe
should
we
have.
don't actually know anything. Maybe that's why we're making a podcast in our garage, and maybe we don't know shit.
That's 100%. I don't get it. When you average 5.4 yards a carry, it's hard to be bad. All right, let's jump into the next team, Arizona Cardinals. Just looking at their new coach, Mike LaFleur, coming in. I like the pickup. He did really well with the Rams last season. So
yeah,
I liked
obviously, this team's in a rebuilding position. I really don't think they're going to try to gather too many wins this season. Obviously, they need a quarterback. Jacoby Brissett, I think, will end up being the starter. I think they're going to come to some kind of agreement, because personally, I don't think he has a lot of other options. And yeah, he was an absolute phenomenal passer last season, but they were trailing all of those games, and he was able to just go out there and air it out. But he did a great job, and I'd like to see him be the quarterback this year. I don't think Beck is quite ready to be thrown in there, but also with as much playing experience as Beck has, I think he can if they need to go that route. Plus, you've got Gardner Minshew in there as well. I think either one is going to be equivalent. Garner sometimes has those moments, but I think those are pretty well behind him. And honestly, if they don't get Brissett, I'd expect to see Carson Beck taking those snaps week 1. But we'll see what happens.
Are we both in agreement that losing Kyler Murray has made this team better, though?
Yeah, I think they need a fresh start. I really like the energy this coach is bringing in. I really think that Jeremiah Love's going to be a great addition.
They got Tyler Algier, so that's going to be a help. Which, that poor guy. Can you imagine getting 1,000 yards your rookie season with the Falcons? The next year they bring in Bijan Robinson, and now you're a bench player. Never fumble your whole career, and you finally get the opportunity to be a lead back, and then they draft Jeremiah Love. Like, this is just a bad situation for him.
I didn't see them taking Jeremiah Love, taking Algier. I was actually excited to see him finally get a lead role because he does deserve that.
Yes, yes, he does. And he's so consistent. I mean, not having a fumble in 4 years, that's incredible. That really is incredible. The amount of touches that he's still managed to garner in those 4 years, that's an awesome feat. But overall, I feel like Kyler was a big issue. They needed that change to break up here. And I think this is going to be a good start to a rebuild if they're able to develop throughout the season. But I think it's going to fall within the quarterback on how this team lays out.
Let's jump into the draft pick before we go any further. We already touched on Jeremiah Love, their number 1 pick. You have anything else to add before we move on from him?
Nope. Best running back coming into this year's draft. It's just a little shocking where he went, but at the same time, they needed to fill in positions, and losing James Conner, they needed a power back.
Yeah, let's jump into the second round, taking Chase Bizontis out of Texas A&M, guard. This dude played 18 games without a sack in his Texas A&M career, which is great. Love to see that. Really seeing a lot of good guards coming out of this draft. I think this is a great pickup for them and absolutely what they needed.
Yes, 100%. I thought that was a great pick. Being able to say no sacks given up in the toughest division in college football, that's awesome. Great
So
pick.
with the Algier pickup that we just discussed, do you think that first round pick would have been more useful to maybe grab one of these top tier tackles or something else for this team? I really don't think they needed a running back. Obviously, they took the most talented player available when they were on the clock, but to me, I don't think it was necessary. So I think they could have done better getting another key player on the offensive line. What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, I thought that was kind of what the route they should have taken. You got to get the best running back and the best player available on the position that he's there. But they had other positions that were way more pertinent. And then maybe you can get some quarterback protection. I think that's going to be the biggest thing. Not make Jacoby Brissett try to throw the ball 65 times a game. But I guess their idea, instead of doing that, is just get a running back and give him the ball.
Yeah, and definitely a guy you could build your franchise around, that's for sure. We already touched on Beck quite a bit, 43 starts in college.
I do have a thought I want to bounce off you real quick here on Beck. Do you think this would be a better situation if this was, say, 2 years ago before the UCL injury that he had his last year at Georgia? Do you think if it was coming off his national championship and everything like that, do you think he would be drafted one higher, have a higher prospect, and do you think that we'd be looking at him in a little bit different light?
No, he certainly would have went higher had he entered the draft then, I think, but I don't think it was a bad decision for him just because I think he knew that he, wasn't going to go top 10, and I think he tried to go out there and prove that he could be top 10, which didn't have a terrible season, but had those moments that people were like, "Ugh, I don't know if he can transfer to the NFL," but overall, I don't think it'll be interesting to see what he does. I mean, we really don't know. I'm just not a big Carson Beck fan. It's more fun to hate on him for looking like Sid the Sloth, but I don't know. And with Jacoby Brissett, if for whatever reason he doesn't sign, I think we may get a look at Carson Beck, and that'll be a good thing because it will tell them whether or not he's going to be worth investing in or not.
I feel bad saying this, but I think Carson peaked in college. I think that it's just going to be a rough couple of years in the NFL. But hey, the man was doing a twin, so respect to him.
He lived his best life in Miami, okay?
You won a national championship. You did one of the hottest Instagram twins. Good for you, man. I don't think he has it to make it in the NFL. I think the third round was a jump for me. I was surprised. I thought he was more of a 5th round draft pick, 6th round, maybe a developmental piece. But I'm really concerned after that UCL injury he had. He lost all of his strength to throw the ball downfield. All of their success came from underneath. All of their throws were less than 10, 15 yards. They maybe had a couple deep throws here and there, 50-50 if it was a pick or if it was a completion, but all of their success came from underneath, and that's not going to translate into the NFL.
I do want to touch on their 4th round pick, Caleb Proctor. Little head scratcher, but also maybe this will start the new NFL trend. I don't think so, but taking a D tackle that's 6'3" and only 280, that's small for a D tackle. I'm curious if they just think he's going to be a phenomenal pass rusher. I don't know what they're looking for out of this guy. Maybe they're seeing something. Maybe they think they can pack some weight on him or something, but only 6'3" and 280, I don't think that's the D tackle attributes that we're looking for in the NFL.
I have noticed that the new NFL schemes are starting to move to more of those cheetah packages when it comes to their blitzes, where they have a lot more speed. So possibly they're going to throw a little bit of weight on him, or maybe they're going to have him in for that speed package, throw him in to kind of bust up through the middle while Josh Sweat takes off the outside is kind of my thought process. After looking at everything, what do you give them their draft grade on that?
I'm going to give them a C minus just because I don't think they actually drafted what they needed as far as taking talent in the first round, best available. They did that, but trying to build the team for the future, which it looks like they are trying to do, I don't think that's the best route to go. I think Tyler Algier would have been just fine being a starter. So
Yeah, and especially with running backs not getting the pay. So it's like you gave a third overall draft pick to someone who's going to be on your team for 4 or 5 years. But I think C plus would be a fair grade for them. Going into their season, I find it interesting that they are not projected to win any of their games through their entire season. Very interesting.
yeah, underdog in every game. I'm very heavy on under 4.5 wins this season. I think they can piece a couple together, but this schedule is not doing them any favors at all. This division alone is so tough, but the rest of their schedule, non-conference games, they've got to play the Chargers. They've got to go to MetLife and play the Giants. You got Detroit, Broncos, Dallas, just not doing them a ton of favors.
Yeah, I mean, depending on where we're at with Washington later in the season, depending on how they're looking, that might be a hard game. You do have the Jets, you have the Saints, you have the Raiders. I feel like that last little bit's gonna maybe possibly save them. I like the over 4.5. I feel like 4.5 is a hard loss total, win-loss total. That is for a team that's projected top 3 in the draft, which I don't think the Cardinals are set up to be top 3 in the draft again.
Yeah, I think you absolutely nailed that last stretch of the season where they go New York, New Orleans, and the Raiders. If they can rally at that point in the season and really get something going offensively just because of the amount of talent that they have, I think they can get 4 wins there. And then you look at week 18, if San Francisco's if they already have themselves a playoff spot, which I predict they will, that might be a winnable game for them as well. So you might see 4 wins right there at the end, but their schedule is going to be tough for them. I would take the under on this.
I feel like this team could be dangerous, but it's all going to fall on Jacoby Brissett's shoulders. I don't think Beck is going to get in this year.
Yep. If they have Jacoby Brissett and the defense can keep them in games, they could win 6 games just because of their offensive talent, but the defense is going to have to keep them in games.
Yes. Where are we doing with Josh Sweat? Is he getting traded? Is he staying? I know he is unhappy with the situation, coming down to play with his former DC, Jonathan Gallen. Now he's gone. He's kind of stuck in this limbo, being stuck on 3 years left on his deal. Kind of curious to see how that goes.
With a new coach being in place and really trying to bring a fresh mentality in there, trying to bring a good mindset, I would just purge any of those bad attitudes out of the locker room. I think that's what you have to do when you're trying to build a new culture.
He signed a 4-year, $77 million contract. Only 1 year in on that. I think that's going to be the biggest stipulation on whether or not they get this trade to go through. But what would you give for Josh Sweat personally?
I think we saw the best of him in Philadelphia. I think that system worked the best for him, and plus he had guys around him to rely on as well. I don't think making him the focal point of your defensive front is really something that you should do at this point. I think he could be, especially for Arizona. They don't have a ton of depth there on the defensive front. But personally, like I said, I think we saw the best of him in Philadelphia. I don't know what would be worth.
2nd round pick?
Maybe a 2nd round pick, a 3rd round pick.
Maybe 1 second, maybe a 3rd and a 6th, maybe a 3rd and a conventional 5th or 6th.
As we roll into July, I'm sure a lot of these takes will change. We're going to have a lot of roster movements, so we might change our opinion completely at that point. We'll see what happens. See how OTA and training camp goes.
All right, jumping into our next team, we got the San Francisco 49ers. What do you feel like they needed?
The 49ers, they needed health. Health is what they needed more than anything.
They need to move away from this power station that causes all their injuries.
That might be what it is. No, I think the 49ers are going to be a Super Bowl contender this year.
They are every year.
They're in such a good position, everybody coming back healthy, hoping for the best for them. I'd really like to see Brock Purdy get a Super Bowl. I think he deserves that. I would like to see Like to see George Kittle before he calls it quits. He's coming back strong. And we had a full season of McCaffrey abuse, and he didn't break. So it'll be interesting to see how he holds up this year. I was a hater last year. I did not think Christian McCaffrey would make it through the season healthy, but he proved me wrong, and they abused the crap out of him. What a season
That's
he had last year.
I'm going to say this right now. I think that it is shown in history when a running back gets over 300 touches in a year, the next year they're dealt with plague of injuries
Always
and
digress.
poor play.
I like it. All right, let's jump into the 49ers draft.
All right. I'm going to first off say that their first draft pick, streaming out of Ole Miss, was my favorite pick, favorite receiver coming into the draft this year. I'm surprised they were able to get him as late as they did. I saw a lot of mock drafts having him go in about 2025 range. So him being able to fall into the second round right into their lap and being able to get some more draft picks for later on really helped them out. I thought that was a great move from the GM and still getting a good guy in the position.
Yeah, a little surprising. They did trade out of the first and then take a wide receiver, but I think this guy can absolutely be an asset for them. 4.3 40. Supposed to be a lot of hype around this wideout coming out of Ole Miss. I'm pretty excited to see how he fits in this offense. Mike Evans, obviously, just a touchdown machine. He's going to be good as always. He's not fast. He's not going to do anything fancy. He'll block and he'll catch touchdowns. That's what he does. Christian Kirk is kind of an odd addition to me. I think he will be a good addition, but really surprising what their wide receiving core is looking like going into this season.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious. They did sign Kendrick Bourne to a 2-year contract extension. So obviously they like him going into the year. Is this going to be the year we finally get Ricky Pearsall to play a full season and break out and be the receiver number one that he was supposed to be when he was drafted in the first round 2 years ago?
It would be nice, man, if he can stay healthy, avoid gunshot wounds. Like dude's got a lot of potential. I like him.
Oh,
Gritty
yeah.
wide receiver.
There's nothing more gritty than a man taking a shot and still keeping his watch, taking the man down himself. Like, respect to the guy. Great story, but he needs to play better. It's been a couple years now. Like, it's time you start stepping up, playing a full season, play.
Yeah, jumping into that third round, taking Romelio Height, edge rusher out of Texas. I think this guy's just built to be an edge rusher. Obviously not going to be a big run stopper at 239 pounds, but I think on the edge, this guy has a lot of potential.
Another great Texas Tech player coming off the draft. Can you name another school that had such a great draft picks like Texas Tech?
They were absolutely stacked with talent. I mean, 22 and a half sacks for the 3 years that he played at Texas Tech. That's absolutely insane. Well, excuse me, the 3 years that he played college. He had a year at USC, Georgia Tech, and then that final season with Texas Tech. 22 and a half sacks. That's quite a bit of upside.
Yeah,
I think
that's
he's
awesome.
going to be a good pass rusher, but yeah, again, I don't think he's going to help him in the run a ton, but in this conference, I think that's exactly what your team is going to need.
Yeah, I mean, this whole conference is built on speed, and so that's going to be the biggest thing here. I think overall their draft, they did a great job on getting some depth. I think that this guy's going to be a great depth piece that could potentially turn into a starter later on, but I thought it was a great overall pick. This, however, was my favorite pick. Kalen Black was sought after by so many teams in the pre-draft process. I thought it was a great pick. I think that they finally have some good piece behind Christian McCaffrey, so this guy will be getting a lot of touches and just another great Indiana piece that's going to make it into the NFL.
Yeah, I think it was a good pickup, especially pending the Christian McCaffrey health this season. He and Jordan James should be able to pair pretty well. And within this offense, I'm excited to see what kind of new play designs they develop around these other two running backs, kind of shaping the future of what the Shanahan offense will look like without McCaffrey. How many years do you think McCaffrey has left?
I guarantee you no more than 3 or 4. Guarantee.
4, I think would be a stretch. I think right around that 3 mark would be good, but who knows? This guy continues to prove you wrong. It's weird to see how well he's been able to come back from injuries.
Yes, I mean, he bounced back very well. I just don't think that it's going to be able to last much longer. I mean, dude took a beating in Carolina before coming to San Fran and take another beating like hell. Like, how much longer can you take a beating before it starts to catch up? So I thought this was a great pickup. I think he'll be a future starter on this team. I really liked it.
Okay, what are you looking at draft grade wise for the Niners?
I'm going to give them an A-. They got some great depth pieces, good players at that. I think that they did a great job.
Yeah, I just drafting for the future, 100%. That's the key with this one. So I will move them up to a B on there. I think they did a good job instilling what they are going to need in the future and being smart with it, not being over aggressive in the first round, because as we saw throughout this draft, those first round reaches, they might not have been necessary. There was a lot of good available talent in the second and third rounds. So I'll give them a B coming out of this one. This win total for the Niners is set at 10.5 again. I think that's right where it needs to be, but I think their schedule is just a little bit more forgiving than the Seahawks. So I think they're going to be able to hit this over based on what I'm seeing. If they can split with the Rams, get a win maybe against Denver, I think they can be right around that 11 win mark. I think late in the year, it'll be interesting to see how KC holds up. KC and Philadelphia, those will be tough down there at the end of the schedule. But aside from that, I see them getting that 12 win mark going into the playoffs, pending health, of course.
That's exactly what I was going to mention. I think there's two sides of this. You have a healthy 49ers that we've seen bits and pieces of. I think over is very comfortable, 12 wins, 13 wins maybe. Like they're a very good team. But
I don't think the concern is with the running back health. I think they've got good young talent to get by. Obviously, they're not Christian McCaffrey, but the health is going to be with the pass catching group. Keeping that pass catching group. Yeah, Trent Williams is getting old.
Injuries, I think, is going to play a biggest part into this win total. Whether or not Trent Williams can play a full season, whether or not we can get George Kittle coming back from a major injury back to this, at least close to the level he was playing at before going down. I think that's going to be a big part. Receiver wise, maybe we could stay healthy. And again, goes to the defense. How many of their defensive stars went down? I feel like it was every one of them every week. There goes another one. There goes another one. Dude, it was rough. Mykel Williams, Nick Bosa, Fred Warner went down. What can you do at that point? I think healthy 49ers over 100%. A few injuries, it's going to cause a domino effect like it has been over recent years. And under is a comfortable bet. But obviously, can't bet that. We can't predict injuries here.
Yep, heavy on the over for me.
How do you feel about Kyle Shanahan winning the Coach of the Year one day? I feel like he's not been given the credit he's deserved.
Yeah, especially last year, still being able to make a playoff push with the injuries that you just ran us through. I think this is one of the best coaches the NFL has ever had. And yeah, I definitely, I don't know what he needs to do to be the Coach of the Year because he's doing everything right. Great coach. Just done a phenomenal job with the injuries and developing these teams, specifically on the offensive side of the ball. It's just he can take a Mr. Irrelevant quarterback and turn him into Superman. Obviously, that guy's done a great job at inserting himself into the leadership role and performing well, but I think this is 100% attributed to the coaching from Kyle Shanahan.
He needs a little bit more work to get up there to be at the level of his dad over the Hall of Fame career his dad has. But I mean, it's hard to argue that he's not close. He is very good every single year, regardless of who is hurt. This year especially, I think, is going to be the big push. But bringing in a future Hall of Fame talent like Mike Evans, pairing him with a great young talent, I think this could be potentially a great season if health. Again, health is the biggest thing with this team. They got to move that power station, man.
All right, let's jump into the Los Angeles Rams.
All right, so looking at their season, I think they always have potential. Sean McVay, it's hard to argue with what he's been able to grow and create in that team. Matthew Stafford, Puka, Devontae Adams, future Hall of Famer. They just seem to get better and better every year. Sean McVay has created such a great environment every year, regardless of where they're at. They're in the championships. They're kind of always a team you can guarantee to be right there in the divisional round in the playoffs.
Is this the year we start to see a little bit of regression from Stafford? Or do you think he's going to go out there and have another MVP season? Because I was the first one to say that he's not going to make it through the year. If he's battling these back injuries like he is in the offseason, I thought for sure that maybe that was all just a big ploy to get people to doubt the Rams, because he had probably the best season of his career last season. Yeah. It was a phenomenal year for him.
And that's coming off seasons where he's thrown for 5,000 yards and given Cooper Kupp and Calvin Johnson historic seasons. Like, what a great season. I don't think he'll be at the MVP level again, but I mean, you can't cat out Matt Stafford.
To be regarded as one of the best quarterbacks to be in that conversation, because I feel like he's not held in that same regard, but statistically, this guy's absolutely phenomenal. He's just never in that perfect situation. Aside from now being part of this Rams team, he's never been part of a perfect situation like he is now.
Right now, if he went through and had another season like he had, and they won the Super Bowl and he won another MVP, a Super Bowl MVP as well, I would put him up there possibly as one of the best.
Top 5?
But
let's say 2000's top 5.
Okay, I can agree with that. 2000's top 5 since 2000, yes.
Close. Yeah, he's in there. He's in the mix.
I feel like those first 10 years in Detroit has really kind of caused his legacy to kind of be tarnished. It's hard coming from the 10 years of losing, but going into their drafts, what positions do you think they needed the most heading into this year?
And with them, it's hard because, again, there's such a well-coached team. There's not a lot of weaknesses in there. I think defensive backs were a big thing they needed this offseason. Certainly, I don't think they needed Ty Simpson in the first round. I think that was absolutely a wasted pick. I'm just not a believer in Ty Simpson. There's just so much to prove. I think he has potential, and his upside can be there. But reaching and grabbing him in the first round, I mean, they asked McVay about it, and it seems like he was a little iffy. I don't think he liked that pick. But bringing in a young quarterback to learn from Stafford, not a bad idea. But reaching in the first round to grab Ty Simpson, I just don't think it's there. Just his lack of playing experience.
Overall, they're just kind of fizzle away, just like every Alabama quarterback. Their second-round draft pick, Max Clare, tight end out of Ohio State. What are we doing adding a 19th tight end to the team? Like, I swear every year, this team drafts a tight end in the first 2 rounds every year.
Well, and with him, it's not likely that he's going to play this season, just due to that depth. And I think you've got a lot of potential for him to get some playing time in 2027. But this year, with the depth on that team, I don't think a new tight end's coming in and seeing many reps in this offense.
Yeah, I mean, Tyler Higbee signed an extension on his draft pick. Terrence Ferguson, young, had some good promise last year. Kobe Parkinson's always been consistent and one of Matthew Stafford's favorites. It's hard to fit in here, man. Like, what are we just going to be running 1,000 tight ends and Devontae and Puka? Like, what is our game plan here?
Yeah, and I mean, according to this article, Higbee was considering retiring this year, so probably looking pretty likely for next season for him to retire. So maybe he'll move up one slot in the depth chart, but...
So it's tight end 5 at that point? Ooh.
Okay, Keegan Trost, offensive tackle out of Missouri.
Be honest with you, don't know much about him. Didn't watch a lot of offensive tackles out of Missouri. No news is good news when it comes to the offensive line, but yeah, they needed to fill in Rob Havenstein retiring this offseason. I think that was a smart, needed pick. Kind of did what you got to do, but it's hard to fill the shoes.
Yeah, and like I said, I'm not going to criticize them on the draft because I truthfully can't think of a big need that they have initially, but
my draft grade going into that one, I want to just say B minus maybe. The tight end thing is the big one for me. I thought they did great everywhere else, but what are we doing with another tight end?
Yeah, I'm going to knock him down to a C just because of that Ty Simpson grab in the first round. I think there was so much more available talent, or you could have done so much more trading out. Like, there's obviously some lineage ties to him through the coaching tree and his bloodline, but he's going to have to prove me wrong. I think that was an absolute wasted first-round pick.
My thought process would be, if you want Ty Simpson in the first round, okay, trade down to the late 20s where he'll still be.
Yeah, absolutely.
He'll be there 25, 26. And you can get another first-round draft pick for next year in the process and have someone else trade up.
Or
someone stupid will do it.
Second.
Jared Burse was their first-round draft pick that they finally got that succeeded. It was a great draft pick. But then they traded away another draft pick with the first round, and then they go with Ty Simpson. Are they afraid of the first round? Is Les Snead afraid of the first round? Like, truly, this man makes either terrible draft picks or he just trades them all away.
Yeah. Again, I don't get it. I'll be generous and give him a C, but yeah, I would like to see someone on the defensive side of the ball in one of these first 3 rounds at least.
Confused. It was a very confusing draft for them, but I mean, I'm starting to not question the madness that they seem to be having, but
I wouldn't.
it
How do you
seems to
feel
work
about
out.
them coming into the season with 10.5 win total?
Their schedule's, I mean, it's going to be tough. I think they can do it every year, but is Puka growing up? Has he moved on? Has he cleaned up? That's going to be the big question.
Sounds like he's been at OTAs and things are going well. I think with the resources they have there for him, I think he's going to be able to turn it around, obviously.
Yeah.
Get off
Devontae
the bottle,
Adams.
buddy.
But no, he needs to clean up. He needs to grow up. Devontae still awesome, but how much longer can he play at this level?
The true test for this team, I think, is going to be going to Denver, going to Philadelphia early in the year. Middle of the schedule looks very winnable. Obviously, Washington, we've got a bunch of question marks surrounding them. I think they can bounce back and be a tough team, but at the same time, that middle of the schedule, I think they can sweep this whole week 6 through week 10 going into that bye. I think they're in really good shape before they have to play Green Bay at home, Chiefs at home, and then you're going to have another tough one at San Francisco. I do have a slight lean on them going over that 10.5 win total, but yeah, not an easy schedule at all.
No, I do think there's obviously winnable games in this. I think there's going to be gauntlets in probably a majority of these games. I don't see many blowouts happening this season for the Rams. See a lot of their games ending within about 3 or 4 points.
Yep, and they're the team that can execute in those moments, though. I mean, you couldn't
they
ask for
have shown.
a better situation with Matt Stafford. Like that is their forte, and they can perform under pressure. I do love this divisional game scheduling that we're doing in the last 2 weeks of the season, because that could be the difference between first seed and second seed going into this, with Seattle and the 49ers and the Rams all competing for that 1 seed. So I think the scheduling is, I love it. I know a lot of people don't love the scheduling, but I'm a fan of it. Give me a divisional game last week of the season.
I agree to a point. I don't like cramming the Seattle games within the last 3 weeks of the season. I don't like that. Move Seattle up a little bit. Move them around with Kansas City even. You don't have to move them completely into the middle of the season, but having the same team back to back within 3 weeks, I feel like that is not a great system. I don't like that. I really don't.
Those are the games that you have to go out there and earn, though. I mean, if let's say you get in a rut at some point this early, let's say they don't start off on the best foot and they go 1-3 in their first 4 games. I think that's where you really earn your spot back into the playoffs, is conquering those divisional games late in the season.
And I agree, but I just feel like they could have been spaced out a little bit better, at least for this team here. Because that's a great game, Seattle and LA. Every single time they played last year was a great game and it was a battle. Why are we cramming those into just a small section of the schedule when we can have 18 weeks? You could fit that in. Like, these teams are going to the playoffs. We'll see Seattle in the playoffs. We'll see LA in the playoffs, most likely. I feel like that's what, another 3 games now we'll have to see within 5 weeks of those 2 teams playing, possibly.
Giving them an extra 3 weeks of playoff games. That's what that did.
Yeah, like that's just basically giving them, this team is now going to have to face each other possibly 3 times within 6 weeks. Like, that is insane.
Give it
Hopefully
to me.
you take good notes. That's all you got to do, is take good notes, watch lots of film. You'll have lots of it. Overall, how you feeling this team did this offseason? Feel like they got better? You think they got worse? Think they kind of stayed the course?
I think they're going to come back as strong as they were. Puka is going to raise a lot of questions. I will like to see how he comes into this season. I'm hoping that his off-the-field problems don't ruin what he does on the field, because he's such an exciting playmaker. I'm watching this dude when they're down and they throw him the ball and he takes it 89 yards to the house. It's just such a fun offensive group to watch. I don't want to see Puka downhill at all.
Overall, I think they did a great job filling in some spots that they needed, filling in some key positions. Defense is going to be the big kicker, how everyone kind of fits in together. They lost Kobe Durant, which is going to be a big thing for them. They did trade for the 2 corners, though, out of Kansas City, with Jalen Watson and Trent McDuffie.
Well, I think that about wraps us up for our May takes on NFC West. Thanks for joining us here on Hot Takes and High Stakes, brought to you by Press Coverage Sports Media.